Hey everybody, this is John from Elite. I'm here to talk to you guys about how we create our strength programs. So the strength programs are a huge part of what we do, and we take this so seriously. We give everybody their own strength program that comes to the gym. So I think that these things, a lot goes into creating these things, but also a lot goes into personalizing each one for each of our members. And I just wanted to give you guys an in-depth look of exactly how we create these programs or what kind of goes into them. Now, we do 4-week programs. Every 4 weeks, our members all get brand new programs. And there's a lot of things that are changed with them, but pretty much it comes down to how much they're doing in exercise selection with all of our people. But what goes into actually creating them, the movements that we actually do, I always tell our interns, it's kind of checking off all the boxes, checking, make sure that there's a checklist and you're doing all of these, types of movements in order to create an effective program for somebody. So the first thing that we would focus on, let's say we have, you could go into one, there's things that we're always going to be worried about, which is going to be, say, volume, okay, or the amount of work that we're going to be doing, okay, total over the week or say month. Exercise selection. Okay, so making sure that we're picking the right exercises for the right people. So if you have a back injury, we're not going to be saying, hey, let's go pick up the heaviest thing you can do off the ground. We can still pick up stuff because that's going to be a part of your life, grabbing something from below you and then actually standing up with it. But we need to pick out the right one. So these things are kind of like overlooking us the entire thing that we do. So, but there are certain movements that we want everyone to do. So we think that everybody should be pushing, okay, and then pulling. Now this goes horizontal and also vertical, okay. Not everybody needs to push overhead, but we like to get them to do some version of it based off of their mobility. So based off of what they can do or how far they can get their hands overhead, we'll give them pushing overhead. Or there's usually some form of pressing overhead that you can do, but we want them pressing horizontal, pulling horizontal, and then pressing and pulling vertical, okay? Then from there we would say, okay, we want them to do a squat pattern. So squat pattern, they're doing something where they're sitting down and standing back up. Okay, quad dominant, they're using their hips, teaching them how to sit back and drive through the floor. Okay, then we would want them to pick up something, or we call them hip hinge, okay, or a deadlift, okay. We don't want them thinking about picking it up, but we want them to think about grabbing something and driving their feet through the floor until we stand up with it, okay. Then we like to do some form of single leg work. So they're doing a lunge, they're doing a step up on a box, something that gets you, one leg, stronger, okay, and working both sides of those. Okay, then with our core, okay, there's a bunch of different ways that we're trying to do this. We're trying to get them extension, okay, we do want them to do some flexion, okay, and then we want to focus on them twisting or rotating or resisting rotation, okay, and also isometric. So we're holding, say, a plank, okay, holding a side plank. Anti-rotation, we would grab a band off a rack and we're going to hold, and it wants to pull us this way, but we're resisting and holding that way because our core is actually made for us to stay at home, and we want to stay at home base. So anytime that your core comes like this, we want to resist and be able to be strong coming back to, say, home base. So you're going to do that through isometric holds with like a plank or a side plank. You're going to be doing flexion, extension, anti-rotation, and say rotation to make sure that your core is strong all the way around to prevent back injuries and so on, so forth. So then we do, some people call it chaos training, and that could be anything with, say, pushing or pulling a sled. It could be farmer carries where you grab, say, like almost kind of like a wheelbarrow, or one weight, you hold one weight on one side and you resist, but then you walk and you get a bunch of benefits out of that, okay? We do a ton of stuff with sleds because sleds are such a good movement. Then we do some form of mobility, okay, with all of these movements, say our main lifts, okay, a pushing, say a pulling, squat pattern, say a hip hinge. We want to do something that gets us in better positions to do so. So we're constantly putting in movements or we call them accessories, or say fillers that go in with, say, our squat pattern to make our squat pattern more effective or put you in a better position for you. So typically, say like pressing, we're gonna do a bench press. So you bench press, and then afterwards we're doing something to open your chest up so you can get in a better position when you're benching to not bother our shoulders, but also increase how effective we are with the actual main lift. Okay, and pretty much all of these things, and then we would usually have some form of conditioning. Okay, and pretty much that is something to get our heart rate up. So all of these things are considered, plus the volume and the exercise selection throughout, say, our 4-week program. So every month we're doing something of these almost every single day. Okay, and every day when we do this, say we're doing pretty much a total body workout. We're taking all these parts and moving them around, and especially with exercise selection, certain movements do better with certain, say, mobility movements, and we kind of put those all together and do all the thinking for you. What we do with the volume, okay, we program throughout the month how much work that you're going to be doing, and then as you come in, we coach you based off of your intensity that you can bring, because every day is going to be different. You're not going to have it every day. We kind of take all of this into account and coach you through what you're supposed to be doing that week, how you're feeling today, and going off of that. So this is all that kind of goes into, say, this is kind of covering all the bases. These are things that we're considering every single day based off of who we have and what they're doing, and making sure that you're consistently, like just moving the needle, going up consistently as long as you can, because there's going to be peaks and valleys of training, just like everything else. But if you do kind of all this stuff, if you do that right, for the most part, you're not going to have, big challenges where you should be able to consistently see results for a very long time. They're just going to be a small, small percentage, and just slowly kind of increasing all the way up, So this is kind of how we go about getting or creating our strength programs. And, basically you could totally like geek out and go so deep into this stuff. For the most part, this is kind of like the meat and potatoes. If you guys have any questions on, say, on how we do it or why we do what, please feel free to reach out. But we just wanted to give you an inside look on how we create our programs. And if you guys have any questions, let me know.